All right. Sweet. Oh, I need this. I need to situate stuff a little better. I wasn't thinking. Crap. Crap. Oh, whoops. Oh well, went live. Um, I didn't. I got my keyboard behind the mic, and that's not going to work out well. Let me move that.
Yep, and I see we have someone in the chat, J.R. Strout. I believe he was
Yeah,
in that last week too.
yeah. He was on here last week, or the. So we try to do these every 2 weeks. So yeah, the last time we did one. So
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. My my thought process of time is way off. My wife can tell you that whatever I say is like, oh yeah, that just happened the other day. It's like, yeah, that was like a month ago. It's like, oh yeah, well,
Yeah, I think it's still
get
doing
old,
that
I guess.
for everybody. We are. I am
Right.
doing good. He's asking how we're doing. I'm doing good. Just got home about a half hour ago and ran into a little technical difficulties. That's why I run a couple minutes behind, but we got that stuff all resolved. And we're good to go.
Doing good, Jr.
Yeah. Appreciate you joining. I know you're East Coast, so this is late for you. So, but appreciate you joining. All right. So in fashion, I don't have anything really new per se this week. It was kind of a calming week. Did get a lot done in the business side of the thing of the house. Did have a couple interesting customers call in that wanted to use your Gen 2 kit. One was a 64 Ford Galaxy.
Ooh,
Yeah. Pro charged car. Guy's building a
okay.
little street machine. So, but yeah, so we
Right on.
got a few calls for Anderson Ford Motorsports over at MF Customs. We did our best to handle those calls the best we could. So,
Yeah. Do you still get like people confusing you for working for us?
yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
that's ever going to go away just because, when people will post about your products or, specifically the Holly stuff, I'm usually
Hmm.
the first one to respond right away. So, they're like, oh, he's with Anderson. No, I'm not.
Right
So,
on.
yeah. So, and we won't go into big details, but did you ever hear back from the guy with the Bronco that we were troubleshooting?
He said he was going to look into the wiring
Okay.
and confirm if something's like a fuse is popped or maybe the wire came loose in the fuse panel. Because the more and more I think about it, it's got to be that the switched wire, especially now that I realize after you told me that that also goes in and syncs with the TFI as well. So
Well,
he's going to check the wiring before we move forward on anything.
okay. And I was thinking about that more, and I don't think it could be the switch 12-volt wire only because everything's turning on. The ECU turns on, the handheld turns on, and that all runs through that.
Gotcha.
So, I don't think it's going to be that, but it's good to still check.
Yeah.
So,
But he said that's his next step. He was going to look into the wiring and stuff like that. So I just doubt that an ECU, a brand new ECU, would be bad out of the box that I sent him. And also his new distributor is bad out of the box. But it's an MSD distributor, so I wouldn't put it past it. But I just wouldn't think that that would be the problem.
yeah, troubleshooting that stuff is kind of tough. But I mean, I've already volunteered. If you needed to, I could always jump on a call with him or something and take a peek. So,
Sure.
you know, I
What I'd like him to do is find another distributor just to plug in real quick and spin the rotor and see if it starts reading the
yeah,
RPM. So he doesn't have to pull the distributor and verify if it's the distributor real quick. But again, he's going to check wiring and then go from there.
okay, yeah. That's I'll be curious. I know you'll update me on that one.
Yeah. I guess that could maybe be the focus is troubleshooting and like assisting with like issues and stuff like that.
So
Because sometimes it's something you can figure out very quick, or sometimes it could be hours of work trying to figure something out.
you're going into a topic right away that um, I wanted to bring up. I know you won't be able to probably commit to anything on this call, which is fine. Um, but how would you feel about Anderson Ford Motorsports hosting a tuning class on a weekend? Would that be something they might consider? Think
I'd
on it.
have to think about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
because I'm talking to a shop here too about doing that too, where like it might be like a 1 day thing, bring people in, talk about the very intro parts of Holly, just to get them started, like how to wire them properly, how to go through and get them set up
Hmm.
properly, um, basic troubleshooting, and then maybe turn it into like a multi-tiered class down the road. But think about it.
Yeah, I will. I'll
Yeah.
think about it.
See if you guys want to host something like that. Um, when I was out and about a little bit earlier today, uh, got on good old Facebook and saw a couple people posting MF custom stuff. It's always fun to get tagged in a few things. So
Right.
one of them recently was Kenny Bellcar. I love seeing people still sporting the Kenny Bell. I mean, they are coming back, but it was just neat to see people.
Hmm.
Guy went from a Mega Squirt MS2 plug and play to a Holly plug and play setup.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see because I saw that post and I saw the pictures. Yeah, that's a really good looking engine bay too, and a
Yeah,
power pipe and all that good jazz. I'd be curious to see how he feels after having, because I mean they're both speed density systems. I'd be curious to see what his thoughts are on the Holly after working with the Mega Squirt.
yeah. I'll be curious about it too. I've actually followed his build on that car for quite some time. So, and when I saw his order come through, I wasn't quite sure if it was him, but I was kind of hoping because it's a clean car. That's a nice tribute car. Actually, I
Nice.
think that one might be the real one. I know he's got a couple. So, but regardless, it's still a beautiful Fox. Well done. I like the idea of classes, the tips, and proper termination connections and wiring routing. Yeah, yeah. So Jr. That's kind of what I'm looking at doing. I've had a few people now reach out to me personally about hosting classes on the basics. So like, think of it as an entry level for like service installers. Like this is how you do the install. Here's your proper troubleshooting. Here's your proper installation. Here's what to look for. Um, here's how to build the basic tune to get the car to fire up and run. So this way they can like hand it off to like the tuner at their shop um, or their own car if that's what they're doing. But yeah, it's something I'm tempted to do. I've been now asked a number of times, and I think I want to do it. And if I can find a couple places to host it, I wouldn't mind doing a couple of them. And then if they go well and people are interested in going further, might go into it like building a good tune safely. How to do the Ford IAC. So maybe have a car there. Walk through on getting the base tune built, starting it up, setting the idle air, showing people how to do it properly, and getting remove the myths of the Ford IAC not working well.
That'd be a good one.
Yep.
Also, the proper way or what it actually truly means to do a static timing check.
Yep. All that.
Actually, seeing that on camera, I think would be huge.
Yeah. So all that stuff I wanna do, and I now that I actually got asked this evening, and that's why I kind of brought it up. I'm like, I'll ask Donnie.
Looks like our live stream is spinning and loading.
Uh-oh. Did I lose internet?
There it goes.
I'm not monitoring it, so all I can do is monitor the connection here, and it shows good.
Yeah.
So, not dropping any frames. So, and we got JR here and a couple others, so I'm sure they can always tell us if we're were broken or not. Um,
Right.
outside that, I mean, the weather is looking good for next weekend, so I think I'm going to do some work on mine, get that intake gasket done. Uh, I'm also going to possibly, while it's apart, add more sensors, which just what I need. More data. Uh, the idea, I'm going to add a 2-bar map sensor to my driver side valve cover, so I can monitor crankcase pressure, and then I'm also going to add a coolant pressure sensor, so I can monitor coolant pressure. And then I might go through and change out my oil pressure sensor to a combined oil temp transducer.
Okay.
So I might end up building a custom injector harness, so this way I can still use the factory wiring but add all those components in. And then there's a few open positions on the SN95 and tie into that, just so it all still looks factory. So while it's apart is probably when I'll do all that. Be a lot easier.
Are you running a Dominator on that?
Not yet. That's why I brought it up when I asked.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to use the CAN IO box I bought. That thing has been sitting on the shelf. I used it for some demo stuff, but I'm going to now install that on my car for a little bit and test it out a little bit.
Okay.
JR did say we had a glitch. Okay. So that's kind of the idea right now. Trying to get ready for the 2024 drive around, have fun season.
My projects have been put all on hold because of things that have happened at the shop. Things that just keep getting pushed on the back burner. Like that Fox body that's at the shop that got your adapter kit.
Yeah.
That car was supposed to have been done already, and it's still up in the air. The motor is in it and attached to the transmission, but just running into so many problems. End up needing a K member because the oil pan on it was just too big and it was hitting the factory one.
Oh, that's
so, but of course we had that ice storm earlier this week that derailed the first Monday and Tuesday. So everything just kept on getting pushed back. So my boss has got a 2003 Lightning that's got a Kenny Bell and built motor and stuff in it. And we're working with a remote tuner on that one. Originally, Rick wanted to put a Holly on it. And at the time, no one had that 4R100 harness. And he didn't want to put a 4L80E or whatever the GM transmission is, the head-roll. But now there's like a company that's making those, or like in the middle of like making those work and stuff like that. So we've been working with a remote tuner. Well, I don't have enough staff to be able to record stuff and run the dyno at the same time. Like that's been halting everything. We got a project, 2008 Shelby GT that we're doing some stuff to. That was supposed to already be done by now. So I haven't even thought about my stuff, like my 94 Cobra or anything like that, because I already wanted to start putting some of the new stuff I bought on it, and I just have boxes piling up again. And revisiting Holly and stuff after working with Dan over at Neo Mustangs and getting his car going. I've been doing more thinking about where I might be having an issue with my idle and stuff after I just got the car put back together. I pretty much just got it put back together to get put into storage.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking about it more and more. Or I'm going to, I start messing with a tune to put in it so that way I can get the idle down and stuff like that. And so, yeah, my stuff's been getting kind of just in the back of my mind on the back burner, not really thinking about it really anymore. So just because we've got so much stuff going on right now and not enough people to get it done.
Yeah, that's
the joys of how the business is sometimes.
Well, that's the issue when it's just you on the motorsports side, right? Like that's tough for you, right? Because you're the only one on the motorsports side. So
currently, yeah.
Oops. So JR.
Yeah, Ryan's not even really a part of it anymore. It's literally just me now.
Oh yeah, that's true. JR asked about the coolant pressure. Yeah, the cap will regulate at 16 psi or whatever it is set for. You're correct, but on a boosted application, I like to monitor coolant pressure because if you start seeing it go above that, you know that you're starting to either lift ahead or you're getting boost pressure somehow into the coolant system. And I like to set up safeties. So my idea here is I want to set up safeties for the coolant pressure. So this way, if it starts to go above, like say 20 psi of coolant pressure, I can either yank timing or pull all the fuel, just to shut it off. I, I already have oil pressure safeties for that. So like if my oil pressure drops below like 10 psi, when it's over 1500 RPMs, it'll yank 4,000 pounds of fuel out. So this way, it just turns right off. So all about safeties for me. Plus, you can never have enough data. So like the idea of monitoring crankcase pressure as well, or vacuum, is to see how much pressure I'm putting in there since I'm boosted, to see how much boost pressure is getting past the rings and into the crankcase. There's not much I can do about. Once that starts, I know it's time for a rebuild. You're always going to have some go by. Like there's no way around it. But it's just a way so you can have a you can have like a base set of information for your car. So like a fresh build, you know all these things. This is what they were when you first start, and then after it's been running, you can see how that stuff changes over time to get an idea of how things are wearing. I do that on a lot of customer cars.
That kind of ties into something in regards to a product. We have our valve covers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That have the AN fittings on them,
Mm-hmm.
and they got Dash 8 fittings on them. Some people have complained that they wish we had Dash 10. Some people don't want them at all because they want to do their own thing. But I was thinking about it, and stuff. The more and more people ask me, "Hey, can you just do Dash 10 fittings?" And I'm just thinking to myself, "Geez, how much blow by do you have that you need Dash 10?" Because Dash 8 on my car, on both my cars, both Fox bodies have those valve covers on them, and I never had an issue with it. But my engines are pretty tight and don't have a ton of blow by, and that's why I have the oil separator so I can see how much is actually collecting in the can between the PCV. I'm still running PCV, so I'm sure I could block that off and see what's going directly into the can. But I've checked it about after a year's worth of heavy abusive driving, and there's maybe, gosh, like barely enough to drip out of the can. Not really a stream, just dripping out. So yeah, that's something I've considered in regards to product wise, because of like how much crankcase pressure are you actually getting, and is Dash 8 not enough? Do you need to go to Dash 10 or Dash 12 or whatever crazy number you need?
I do a 12. All the ones
12?
I do a 12. And I don't even know why I started that. It's just when I did it, it's what I had laying around, and I've always done a 12 since. I think 10 and 12 is pretty much what you'll see a lot of the high horsepower stuff do. People making 1,000 plus, you'll usually see a 10 or a 12.
So on the next run, I may consider doing a 10.
Yeah.
I don't want to go because I want these to be able to fit as many applications as possible. I'm probably going to end up moving the fitting on the driver's side to the front because you seem to have more room there, even if you still have AC.
Mm-hmm.
8 fits in the back is fine, but I think a 10 in the back, and it probably hit the most intake manifolds. So I'd probably end up moving that. Exhaust back pressure. That's big, especially for turbo guys. That's a big one.
I do that on turbo cars. I don't do it for supercharged or.
Yeah.
But yeah, no exhaust back pressure.
So yeah, I'm always considering making changes to our product line and stuff like that.
They have to evolve. Like,
yeah,
it's rare for a product not to evolve over time. I mean, even our stuff evolved over the year. I shouldn't say years. Over time, just little things we've added that weren't new features. It was just design changes to make it better. Does it make it the prior ones inferior? It doesn't. It's just when we were doing it, the idea internally when we made some changes was to make all the boards similar in design. So this way, it reduced product cost and waste. And what I mean by that is like, we get these little panels to put on the solder paste. And instead of having, you know, 5 or 6 different varieties of those, what we did is we took the biggest one that had all the components, used that as the standard, and then whatever doesn't use those pieces, it's not a big deal, but we can get down to just one panel for when we're soldering all the components on. So like that's some of the changes we did. Because at the beginning it was just like, oh, we just need to make it work, and we made it all work, and it was great. But then we started seeing, okay, like, how can we make products be built quicker? Because at the beginning, like, I'll say it, we were slow. But that was because, okay, well, these 10 boards are going to be this solder paste and needs this template over top of it. And then these 10 are this. And, which one's this? And it got to be a little bit of annoying because we had to keep switching things out. You have to reset your system so this way the pick and place machine will do everything. We were able to streamline that down to one. And then what we can do is we can let the pick and place go through and do its thing. And then we can take a Q-tip and just wipe off the stuff that's not used in the certain spots. And works out really well. And we cut time down a lot. So like when we're doing 100, I know we did the math on it one time, and I think it came out to like we saved over 90 minutes just in that process.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a huge savings. And we're doing that stuff all the time. Like, but that's just, I think that's the nature of the beast, though. We're always changing. Like, I'm always getting samples in of different stuff to see if we can make things better. So.
Right. So I kind of have a spicy question if you want to dive into the tech support thing.
Yeah.
So there's like help, and then there's like, okay, how much time are you willing to dedicate? My perspective is going to be different than yours, I think. But I would like to see where it goes. So you get a phone call and someone's having problems, especially like if it's your product, you want to help them out, try and figure it out. But does it draw the line between tech support and like trying to do like tuning and installation for somebody over the phone? Like, for example, today I was going step by step through everything on the tune loading process, and tuning essentially wasn't really tech support at that point. So
it's tough.
When does it become like a pain in the butt to try and do that while still doing your daily operations and stuff? That's why I talked on the last one about, hey, I'm probably not going to be doing tuning this year unless we get more staff, because a phone call like that could turn into an hour and a half. And during the hour and a half, I didn't process or go out to shipping or do any processing any orders or anything like that. Now, if I was by myself on a tech support line, that's a little different.
Yep.
So where do you kind of draw the line and say, okay, this is not tech support anymore. This is like me trying to walk you through how to do everything. And do you get irritated with that?
So I just grabbed this. It's a little flick. So what I do is when I get a phone call, and as soon as I start to tell that it's a support call, I click it, and what you can't see is behind me. And we have these at all the stations. So when anybody calls, if the timer gets up to 30 minutes is when all of a sudden that's when we tell the people to stop and tell the person, okay, hey, this looks like this is going to go a lot deeper. Because with our product, and it's a little bit different for you, but for our product, it's plug and play. So you should be able to solve most troubleshooting questions on our side of the house within the first few questions. Like, are the connections secure? Did you run the power cables to the battery? Are they connected? Did red go to positive, black go to negative? Which I know that sounds bad, but we've got to ask it. We asked the basics, like, did you tighten down the 10 millimeter bolt to the adapter for the harness? And after that, it's we have it timed to know that we can get all those things checked and do all the troubleshooting within that first 30 minutes. Anything after that, we kind of stop them and say, okay, hey, this looks like this is going to go into like a support troubleshooting, remote hands type of scenario. We have a service for that. And we try to do it in a, it's hard to be polite, but we try to do it in a polite manner. Because a lot of people get offended right away, right? Like, you got to kind of watch it. So you got to kind of gently approach that bridge. And we really haven't had that many complaints. I think we've had a handful. Because, like, wow, but that's what you do. You help everybody. I'm like, but at the same time, these people have other stuff to do. So if it's getting near that 30 minutes, and I'm like, okay, we're about there. Like, we haven't, I'll go a little bit longer, but 30 minutes is what our timer is. I set a 30-minute rule. And after that, we have it right on the website. We tell the person, just jump on there right now and go purchase a half hour. Purchase 2, purchase 3. They're 30-minute increments. Purchase as many as you want. You can bank them as well, so this way down the road you have any other problems, you just schedule a time and we'll help you out. And a lot of people are like, okay. Like, we also know that time's valuable. Everybody's time's got value to it. So, and the people that usually
going to that model has helped out a lot.
Yeah, and the people that do complain are the people who didn't even buy our product. They bought Holly in general, didn't want to deal with Holly support, or didn't want to deal with the person they bought it from. I'm not going to name companies. And they found us online. They're like, ooh, you guys do a ton of Holly. You help a lot of people out. And those are the people that usually complain. I have not had one of our own customers. And knock on wood, we don't get a ton of our own customers calling. But then again, that goes back to, we have simplified the solution to install. The stuff that they do call us on is like, hey, we were tuning the car and still having a little bit of idle issue. Can you help us? And we'll give them a little time on that. We'll give them a half hour. And we'll ask, the first question usually always asked is, do you have a BBK throttle body? If they say yes, we kind of stop right there. Like, we know the problem. I don't want to ignore these people either. So let's see, real quick for JR. Lots of hand-on means always a set of eyes. Yeah, so JR, I think eventually, I've talked about this in a prior one. I think we're going to do an overview of how QC works at MF Customs. It's highly automated. Donnie is actually is privy to how it kind of works, because he'll call and say, hey, I have this problem. I'll ask him a couple questions, and I can go back and I can see just a quick overview, every product from the second the board touches the railway, as we call it, to go down through the pick and place and get selective soldered and all that, has a QR code sticker on it at first. Stays in-house, and it's the serial number for that product, and we can go and see every process it goes through, who's touched it. The harness gets that same code on it, and we can see all the data when that harness goes and gets plugged into the test machine, how it tested, how it passed, the data sheet for it all gets filed away. All the testing procedures for the boards get tested. All that's then also on video. So we have overhead video, even this, because I'm using one of my desks. I have 2 cameras up above, and I can see the whole desk. And if I scan something, those cameras turn on and I can actually see the whole process and I can check out what's going on and I can go review it. So like when Donnie calls in and says, "Hey, serial number 115 for an 86 to 93, we're having these problems. Uh, Wideband's not working." Hold on a minute. I can go and view all that and look at all the records and make sure everything passed and go through and look at the nitty gritty. So quality control is huge for me. Um, so I work in IT as a day job. So yeah, I kind of nerded out on that stuff. Overhead cam. Do you guys have a favorite injector to use? Boosted Foxes with. I'm running 60 pound Siemens Decas now, and the factory ECU with a chip. So, overhead cam. My opinion on that's going to be a Deca 80 all day long. If you're running boost, might as well just go the 80. If you are going to start making bigger power, then a Bosch 210. And my reasoning behind that is, unlike the old days with factory ECUs, even factory ECUs, 42-pound injectors never idled properly. You always had issues. With standalones, you can make a Bosch 210 idle like you're running 19-pound injectors on a stock ECU. So I always say go big. Go an 80 if you're not going to make any more than 600. If you think you're going to go past that or you're getting close to that eventually, I wouldn't even mess with anything in the hundreds. I would just grab a 210. And I always keep a set of 210s on the shelf and 80s. So just to answer that.
Yeah, it seems like this. I agree. The Siemens Decas.
And that's
I
the
have
only injector I
60s in
run.
my turbo car. Yeah, I have 60s in my turbo car, and I have 80s in my supercharged car. Siemens Decas with the Holly just seem to just work so well.
Oh yeah.
It seems like their data is like either on point or close enough to where you're not really changing stuff on the any of the dead time or anything like that. They just work. Um, and on top of that, like for injectors that I like working with, is FICs.
Yeah.
We've had really good luck with FICs on E85. Um, we've had a customer that had a FIC 1000s, which is just an 85 pound an hour injector, but he got 700 rear wheel on those with a booster pump and a 525 Hellcat pump with our fuel rails and lines and stuff. And yeah, the duty cycle was close to being maxed out, but still within the safe range. I like their 1650s as well, and FIC seems to stand behind their stuff too. I like that they pretty much have a lifetime warranty, and they've been really good to work with. But for your average pump gas guy, or maybe pump gas with water meth or something, Siemens Deca, I don't even look at Excels. The worst one to work with, just from experience, is anything that is a Terminator X injector from Holly.
Yeah.
I've had several sets of those fail. They're like Pico injectors. You have to buy adapters and stuff. I've had every single set that we've ever messed with fail. So stay away from those. Excels are so hit and miss. And I wouldn't trust anything past like a 24-pound injector on an Excel, to be honest with you. But yeah, if you've got boost and you're making, say you want to support 600, 650 rear wheel, go with a Siemens Deca 80. And just, if you ever go E85, yeah, Bosch 210 or an FIC 1650 or something. But yeah, I completely agree with the Siemens Deca thing. I've had great luck with those.
Yeah, and I haven't done a lot with the FIC. I know they're great injectors. I know people who run them. I personally have not run them. But that's just because I run the two, right? Like those are just my two go-tos.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll run 60s on an NA car that makes 300 horse. This guy decides to ever spray it or do anything with it, there's plenty injector there. But then again, that's standalone. Standalone gives you that ability to do anything like that. So, JR for the 120s, just make sure they're not low impedance. If they're low impedance, you'll need to make sure you either have an injector driver box.
You'd be on HP or Dominator or
yeah.
Or yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm on a B50 Sportsman block, and I died of 500 7 years ago. I probably don't have the block to go with more power. Yeah. Yeah, the B50 Sportsman block. Yeah, I mean, you probably can already tell I'm fumbling around on that. It's a good block. Problem with that one is, yeah, 500. I've done 650 on it, but after that, it's kind of it's on borrowed time. I need to find stubby small injectors for my twin Phytech throttle. Phytech. I don't even know if I want to answer that one because it's Phytech. Sorry, Jr. Siemens got some small ones. Siemens got some small stubby body injectors. Some LS ones as well, I think. Or they have some
The Pico, yep.
Yeah, they have some Pico ones. But to go back to Donnie stuff, 30 minutes has really helped. It's narrowed a lot of stuff down. And we'll do the same thing for like customer calls where they're just calling in and trying to get questions and advice. And that's why we call it a consulting service. We'll give you like the first 30 minutes, but anything after that, we'll just kind of explain to them, like, you know, if you want us to help you design your install, because we're not going to get anything, we're not a Holly dealer. So they're just using our time. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, we got to. You got to draw a line somewhere, because if not, you keep letting people do that, they'll just keep going, keep going, keep going. And then you design their entire system and you get nothing out of it in the end. We don't mind helping people. It's just
That's where I had to learn to say no to some people.
yeah. So, but I wanted to make sure I finished on that. So yeah, the 30 minutes has really helped.
Yeah, I forgot that you doing the consulting, the whole service side of things,
That's
which
why
I think
that came
is
out.
a great way of looking at it versus being kind of cornered in a spot where it's like, okay, you try to work some things out. Of course, you're not there physically with them, and it also they get too proud for their own good and say they like, yeah, I know I hooked it up correctly. It's like, well, if we're fighting the thing the whole time, which that happened with the guy that's having the issue now with his stall issue. Originally, we thought it was a bad ECU. Everything turned out. Yeah, you tested that ECU, didn't you? Originally,
I don't know which ECUs I've tested. I've tested some ECUs for you, but I don't keep track of what the issues were on those.
gotcha. I'm pretty sure it was, but yeah, it turns out he just had the switched wire connected directly to the battery because
I remember
it was
that.
an engine on chassis and he was just testing it, and of course it was wiping his tune out and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, what I've pretty much had to do is if it's something that I truly feel comfortable, like being able to go through each step and like, okay, I feel confident we can work this out, and it may take an hour and a half. I'm okay with that, but there's some times where I've had to just say no, like this is something that I can't diagnose unless I'm there. And or if it's like, okay, this might be a little bit too on the intricate side that outside of my expertise, and I don't like guessing.
Yeah.
So that's when I'd probably get you involved and be like, hey, I'm having this issue. One, am I forgetting something that's obvious?
Yep.
Give you the situation, say, hey, what am I forgetting? Like that one guy that didn't have a tune loaded in it, that just completely skipped my mind.
Well, that one got me too, though. I mean, I spent probably a good 30 minutes with him on that one before. I'm like, did you ever load a tune? And he's like, how do I do that? And I'm like, should have started there. Lesson learned.
Yeah. And I spent probably it was probably like an hour with that guy,
Mhm.
and because we kept on trying to get it to where I could hear his fuel pump prime and stuff, right? Because that was the thing. It's like we can get the fuel pump to prime, that means that it's ready to pretty much fire. But yeah, and but again, that was kind of my fault, and then something completely skipped my mind. But sometimes someone calls in and wants to kind of like, okay, how do I get my car to idle good and stuff? Or hey, like how much timing do I should put it in this RPM range and stuff? It's like, all right, now we're getting into like remote tuning, and I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna be able to do that because I could spend a whole day remote tuning a car. Well, hell, like Matt, like I had my car decently tuned in, and Matt over at Leach when he was still doing it, we spent like a good 4 hours on that remote tuning session, and he just going through everything. And there's just not enough time in the day to be able to do that. Plus, run a
Yep.
parts business, and so I just had to learn. It hurt me at first. I just had to learn to say no.
Yeah. It's tough.
And in the long run, I think it'll help me out. But I think going to what you did, and that's where I think our perspectives might be a little different because you went to the consulting side, like, okay, you can buy my time and we can get this shit figured out. Excuse me, and we can get this stuff figured out. And it's like me, I back myself into corners sometimes. And sometimes I don't mind doing it. Like example today, I worked with Dan over at Neo Mustangs last night to help him get a bass tune going because he's dealing with the Holly for the first time. And I didn't want him to like break something. I didn't want him to hurt something because it's something he just doesn't know. And so yeah, I went through a bunch of different steps that he may not even touch yet, but I want him to know about. So when he gets his car up and going, what he needs to do to make adjustments and stuff. And we spent a good almost 2 hours going over some of the software basics and stuff. And then he's got an issue right now with his communication for his USB cable right now, but we still figured out how to get his tune and the 80 firmware on the V2 into his SD card so that we can at least get the tune into the car.
Yeah.
And stuff. I didn't mind doing any of that because, it's just getting the basics set up. And we tried troubleshooting after that. Okay, why is the CAN to USB not working? We don't know. But we kind of ended it after that because it's like, okay, we can go down the rabbit hole and try to do software updates and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, for me, pretty much I had to learn to say no to certain situations because, or it's like, okay, maybe I got to get you involved. Be like, okay, what am I missing here? Or is this something that maybe like, yeah, we need to get them involved with you directly to buy some time to troubleshoot some possible issues, if any at all, or if it's something that maybe they messed up or something. Yeah, there's been times where I've gotten really irritated with some people.
Oh,
and
it's par for the course.
And it really tries my patience sometimes. Being human and stuff, like, it's weird because I think we talked about it this week. Like, the beginning of January is never like super busy because coming off the holidays and stuff like that, people already spent all their money and everything. And then it's weird. Last week was probably my busiest week I've ever had in the January ever since being at Anderson Ford Motorsport, because I was nonstop all the way from when I started, and then I'd only take like a half-hour lunch out of my hour lunch break because I had to get back to get stuff shipped out. Otherwise, it wasn't going out.
Yep.
And then, of course, with the bad weather and stuff, that put me behind by about 3 days worth of shipping from the weekend and all that stuff. And then if someone wants to call me and try to figure some stuff out for an hour and a half, I just lost pretty much my whole day. So I'd get frustrated.
It's hard when it's just
necessarily the customer's fault, but I would get frustrated.
Yeah.
Because I'm like thinking, okay, I got to get this thing put together and shipped out. Oh, I see the UPS guy outside my office. No, he's already picked up stuff. All right, that's it. We're done for the day. So I honestly get frustrated sometimes when it's something, especially like if it's something I just cannot figure out.
Yeah.
And it's something I think that should be so easy and stuff. It's like, I wish I could do the remote thing, but I know as soon as I do that, I'm opening myself up to a whole other can of worms. And that's why, like, when you brought up the whole class thing, like, I really have to think about that, because I'd be having to dedicate like almost tuning time, even though it's like a class. But then that kind of put me in the mindset maybe I should do remote tuning, and I don't know if I want to do that. So
I was thinking more of just a host.
Yeah, so that's where my perspective is. I get seriously frustrated with some people.
Yeah,
mostly not be their fault, it'd be me.
Yeah. No, I've dealt with that too. I mean, we're in different realms, but we cross lanes on a lot of things, right? Like, there's a lot of things that we do in the similar world. Sure. And I've had that too. Like, people with shipping, they don't want to pay UPS prices. I get it. UPS is not cheap, and you can check a UPS price in the morning, lunch, in the afternoon, and get 3 different prices. It changes that much.
Yes.
And
sure does.
Which is weird to think. And we have yours pretty much figured out at this point. If we wait until the morning, we get the lowest cost. But it's not true if we go to the East Coast. So, like, say, if I want to ship something to Maine, it seems to be better if I wait till the afternoon. So it's really weird on how that works. Yeah. But we had someone want something shipped. They paid for, the correct fare to get it to them in 2 days. Then we had an ice storm. And they were in the same area where the ice storm went through. Oh, you guys got it too. Like that whole storm this beginning of this week, or yeah, it was beginning of this week or end of last week, whatever. It all runs together anymore.
Yeah.
But when that happened, that was last week. They're like, but it's not here yet. And I'm like, I can't do anything. Like it got, and the thing was, is it was like, they called after the order went in. It was like 4:00, asking if there's any way we can get it out today. And it was a small product, so it wasn't like a big deal. It was something that's already prepackaged, so we just threw a label on it. And on my way home, I run by a post office. So I dropped it off. Got the receipt and everything. Scanned it into the system when I got home. Put it away. And then the ice storm came through. And it sat in their depot for 4 days.
Jeez.
And I'm like, that hurts. And, they're coming to us like, well, we want a refund on shipping and this and that. And I'm like, I can't control the weather, man. Like, so frustration's tough. I get it.
That's actually, I thought about that, JR, in regards to like a Holly install, because I've done a few on YouTube, and they've all been kind of like overviews, like kind of high level like installations, not like a step by step, and then like a step by step setup for like just your initial startup. I thought about doing that with the 94 actually, because it's essentially the same steps for the most part. In regards to like setting it up on your laptop and everything, when I do, because I am going to put an adapter on that car at some point with a Holly, but I really thought about like, okay, what's like your initial setup? Like people have done like the installs, like the hard install, right, of like pulling a harness out, putting a harness in, connecting everything, and then it's like, yay, it's good to go, it's installed. But like the setup of, okay, so here's what we need to do for your initial setup. Here's the sensors you need to select. Here's the map sensor scaling we need to input. Here's where we like to set up the IAC to start. Here's how we do the static timing check once it's up to temp. And here's where we want to monitor air fuel, like pretty much your basics to get going before you start the fine tuning, and then leave it at that. So
don't have to walk through every option, but one for an LS, one for
so I thought about doing like a fresh like install and setup video on my next one, which will probably sometime probably, I don't know, summer, fall maybe. Depends on, the car's going to paint in the summer, and I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm not going to really start attacking that car with new parts until it's painted. Yeah. But I think I want to do an actual setup video for like your Fox Body / SN pushrod 5-liter, which is all the same type of IAC and stuff like that. It's not much different, but your basic setup steps. Here's where you want to start, and then go from there.
Yeah,
I thought about doing that.
I'm doing one. I started doing the recording. Well, kind of. I went, because I like the Lenovo's. And Lenovo's laptops are what we typically provide. It's already built into the cost if we build a car. The laptop's already built, part of the bill. And I went ahead and just bought us a couple spares. And this is it's a T490. I want to try to get a T14. It's the newer, but the T490, the 470s, 480s are still really good. And you can get them for a couple $100. Refurbished with a year warranty. But it's got Windows, this one's got Windows 11 on it. And the idea of what I want to do is I want to go through and do a video of how to install the software, how to troubleshoot the software. So like what you have with Neo where you can't see the CAN to USB, how to troubleshoot that. Because it won't be an update. It won't be anything like that. And because this is my realm in the day job, day walker. Because I feel like I'm old.
Okay, Blade.
Yeah. you know, I'm going to do a video on that. Like, brand new system, pop it open, power it on. What do you do? Well, I want to show them how to go to Holly's website, how to navigate the support to get the right software. So that should only take a minute. Then from there, get the software installed, and then what to look for troubleshooting for the CAN to USB. And then with that, if it doesn't just work, show them here's the first step. You know, go into, here, is this right? If it's not right, next step would be go look at this. And if your processor, and that's the key thing, that's why it doesn't work on all laptops, look at your processor. If your processor is not a true Intel x86 or an AMD x86 processor, and I'll have that all explained on how those work, it won't work. So if it's an ARM base, which there's a lot of ARM based laptops now, especially Windows laptops, the drivers will not work and it will not function on those laptops. So I want to go through that so people have a way of knowing, oh, that's why I'm having this problem. So I got the laptop.
I like that. And like our said, having just multiple videos of nothing really specific, but just the more information. And I agree with this. The more information, the better. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like the holy grail of information, but the more information, the better. So multiple videos of setups, multiple videos of like how you would do it. Like the way you would do it may be different than the way someone else does it in regards to setting up. So,
yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
JR, no, they don't have a serial port. I use a USB to serial adapter on most of my laptops anymore. But just because finding a laptop with, and I'm a network engineer, finding a laptop with a USB to serial, with just a built-in serial port anymore is so hard. I know they're out there.
Do they still make those?
Yeah, so
built in.
Yeah, so Dell, Lenovo, they have like workstation laptops that have more features.
Workstations.
They will have
for like medical field stuff and
yeah, like they're out there. Panasonic, okay. I don't know if or Toshiba. I know they do. Like the tough books that Ford uses, like those ones that you get with the VCMS kits or all that. Those type of laptops do as well. But it's starting to get very hard. A lot of that stuff has started to migrate to USB only, which is, and me being a Mac guy, everything I have is Mac. I'm so used to carrying around a dongle of some sort that it's second nature anymore, and I don't even think about it. And I run my Holly software on a Mac. I just run Windows in a VM to do it.
Okay.
So. I just had a squirrel run by. My office.
In your house?
No, my office. If I go that way, I can go out. Then I can get it to where I have stuff here. So if I do MF customs at home, I have a shop part in the basement built here. My office is over here, but my office also has a door outside, so I can go right out to the backyard. And I was like, what the hell is that? And the little guy was just sitting right on the door. Then as soon as I looked, he took off running.
You must have thought it was a serious conversation that he was interested in.
Yeah. I was like, shouldn't you be like hibernating or something?
Yeah.
It's like, freaked me out. 10:30. The 68 fastback I am building now won't be needing a laptop. I'm just probably the second quarter. Oh, yeah, that's fine, JR. I mean, you have my information. Just hit me up. I'll help you out with that. But remember, you only get 30 minutes. After that, you got to buy services. Yeah, so, this is the last Saturday of the month. And for us, that is removing forward headers, computer connectors off of old ECUs. Did that for 8 hours today.
Fun.
We do it once a month. So luckily it's yeah.
About how many?
Um, I can do one every 10 minutes.
That's
And,
not bad for.
yeah.
I mean, it's 60. It's like 60 pins, isn't it?
Depending on which one. I was doing EEC fives today. I mean,
Oh,
I was doing EEC
oh,
fours today. Um,
uh-huh.
yeah. So I was doing a mix of both. We all were. Um, uh, on average, about 100, 150 will do
Okay.
a month.
Yeah. Is there any update info on any new releases for your side?
Um, Not yet. We're still working on some paperwork on so we can release some new product. Uh, that's legal, but once that's done, that stuff will be coming. A lot of our pricing has come in for a lot of the new stuff that is coming, so that'll be nice.
Okay.
We've had them redo it. Pricing you'll be getting to here shortly. The big stuff 3. Let's see. Ben just flew out today, so Ben will be on one of these podcasts. He's already agreed to come on to do a podcast with the two of us, so we can sit down and ask him about their ECU, so we can,
Okay.
so that'll be fun. He's a Mustang guy, always been. We're working with him to get their ECU stuff to work with the idle air control valve. So once that's done,
Okay.
we'll be ready to go with them. And so products designed,
Okay.
he knows it. It's not a secret. So that's coming. The thing I'm excited about, and I think I made a post on it this week, is we now have a vendor supplying us with the SN95 TPS connector. So I now
I
have
saw
that.
that. Yeah, that's awesome.
And they also are able to get us the Explorer slash Mustang 4.6 uh, tower coil connector. So we're going to make a harness for those coils.
Right on.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a big one. I don't think a lot of people. I don't think it's going to be like a big seller because a lot of people when they go Holly end up going coil and plug. But this will help the people who are not on coil on plug and don't want to convert because you guys switch out valve covers and on the 32 valve stuff.
Yeah.
So you guys, there's some work to make it work. It's worth it, but in the meantime, if you don't want to, there'll be an option. Yes, Jr. I'm a Mac guy. I have been a Mac guy for all my life except for 3 years. I left them when they went from motor. I can't remember the chip they were using, and then they went to like a Motorola, the Power PC chips. I think is then all of a sudden everything just went haywire. Rosetta was a complete pain. It never worked. I don't think it's called Rosetta. It was called whatever their translation program was to work to make it backwards compatible was just horrible. This was back like in like the Mac 8 and 9 days. I left. I went straight Linux for the longest time, and then came back. But yeah, I mean, I'm an Apple guy. I know. Probably a letdown, but that's okay. This is
So
all
beyond
Mac.
just like so beyond just like product releases and stuff, do you have any goals for this year?
Yeah, so
It could be anything like car related, product related.
I do.
Do you have any goals
I do. Um,
that you're willing to share? I should say.
oh yeah. Big goal is to get the big stuff 3 out. Like that's a big
Okay.
goal. The 96 and 98 stuff, get that out. That is done. We're just now in the production stage of getting that stuff ready to be able to package. And the one thing that takes a little bit on that, and a lot of people got to understand, is I'm really attention to detail. And when I went back and I fixed a bunch of stuff in the 86 to 93, 94, 95 on how their board layouts went, all three of those at one point were completely different. So it all got redone so everybody is similar, which means there's some big changes coming on all those platforms when we start releasing them for the good. So uh, that's a big goal. I'm hoping to have that one ready and going by summer, or not summer, spring, because we got to work with. So we work with someone to make our harnesses. Um, he's already started getting his stuff set and ready. I know I backed up from the mic. Sorry. He's getting his stuff ready to start being able to handle that load. So that's exciting. So we're the final pieces of the puzzle are happening, which is super exciting. Um, Looking forward to Ford Takeover in June. I want to take some training classes. I know it's funny because I want to train, I want to teach as well. So I want to put on training classes, but I enjoy taking training classes as well. The Holly Gauntlet sold out so fast I didn't get in. So I got to wait to see when that comes out. Definitely want to do one with Devin Vanderhoof. I want to do his methanol class. So I know race season is just kicking off tomorrow. Sick week. I shouldn't say race season. I like watching the drag and drive stuff or participating. That's kicking off tomorrow. So I know he's there. He does a lot of that stuff, and the season's starting. So I'm sure those methanol classes won't be happening for a while, so it probably won't be till fall. So that'll kind of work out. He may do them before that, depending on his schedule. But so that's one goal. I want to finalize the New Edge stuff.
Finalize what?
The New Edge, the 99 to 04.
Oh, okay.
We just got to figure out where we want to land on that. So we have 99.9% of everything done. So now it's picking and choosing. Okay. Yeah, so it's just picking and choosing how do we want to keep things. Because some things are in that gray area of emissions. Do they stay or do they go? So that stuff has all been packaged, sent off to someone to take care of legally, and then we'll go through that process. You missed the old. I do miss the iMac because that's what I'm using right here. He's talking about the old iMac. It was just like an all-in-one thing.
It was like the bubble thing.
Yeah.
That was all in one.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Or different colors.
Yep. Man, outside that car, definitely. I mean, we've already talked. I want to get the sensors in it. I want to add more sensors to it. I've always had I want to get the. I'm making my own factory harness for it, factory style harness. So I've already started on it. That might have to be put on hold because I got an order to build some AMC harnesses, and I got to get those done. And that person kind of takes priority over my stuff because it's my dad. So, he wants his stuff, and he's excited. His car's coming out of paint soon. So I got to get those done. Like to sit down and finish the design. It was done, but I after thinking about it some more, I wanted to make a couple small changes to our Holly main harness. So we've come out with our own design. We've already been in talks with our wiring company, and they're on board, ready to do it. So I'm totally looking forward to that. That's going to be really cool. So we're going to support, the EV1 injectors. Well, we will support the EV6. I don't see a big. The EV6 harness will probably be a build to order. I think the whole thing is going to be build to order, to be honest. I don't think it'll be one of those things where we're going to stock them because it won't be cheap. So we'll probably do,
Right.
you know, if you want to order 10, like say Anderson decides to use it, you know, you want to order 10, it'll take a little bit, but we'll just have them build to order. We'll probably always keep like one or
Mm-hmm.
two on hand, but that'll be it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
Yeah, I'm still wanting to put together a package for that remote TFI
so
setup.
I did work on that this week. Um, got the CAD design done, so I can send that over. The original CAD design I did wouldn't work for them because it needed to be in a specific format, even though it stated that that format would work. But I sat down with them Thursday, 2 days ago. Got the
Talking about the heatsink.
Yep. So we've started on that
Okay.
process. I got the CAD done on that. I also did that today. Redid it in the software that they use, and luckily I was able to get a trial version of that software. Did it in their software, so I'll send that up to them on Monday. They told me it would probably be a week or two to get quotes back. So, but yeah, I'm working
Okay.
with them to get that done. It's finally moving forward on
Awesome.
that.
Yeah, I think my package. Yeah, I'd like to put together like a Gen 2 option where it comes with the distributor, comes with the
Yeah.
remote TFI harness, Motorcraft TFI, and the heatsink. So it's just all ready to go kind of deal. That way, there's people that got that option and stuff like that. Then that's cool that you got those TPS connectors now for SN95s because now, except you'd have to still set up a CCRM or a relay pack, I guess, can't you, to make the electric fan work?
So if you want to do a kit for the, you wouldn't build a kit directly for the SN95. What you do is you sell the main harness for an SN95, and if they want to handle the CCRM stuff, they can either use our service, which we handle all of that, or which what that means is we take this ECU harness, gut it.
You take the stock one. You take their stock harness and modify it, right?
Mm,
Gotcha.
we put a relay, we put a PDM in it, or PDU, depends on what you want to call it. We put one of those in. We
Okay.
handle all of that. We do that service.
Gotcha.
We stay busy on that. We probably get, I mean, winter time. I mean, I think we had like 10 of those things show up at one week. So we stay busy
Oh,
on
wow.
those. Yeah,
Okay.
it's common. It's not as common as the 120, the 558 128 harness upgrade, but it's common.
Mm.
And we get it.
Okay.
So, but I am working on a way of not having to do those anymore, and that's why I have that CCRM connector, because I might make my own.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
the idea was to use
Well,
those.
that's cool. Yeah, because I was going to ask you about the heat sink and stuff too. That's going anywhere. Well, sweet, because then I'll start offering that as like probably like a Gen 2 R or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, some kind of acronym to for the guys that want to just go and swap over to a remote TFI.
Yeah. So JR's, was talking that he still has one of those Macs, those iMacs. I'm gonna grab something that's old, that's still in the box. I'll be right back. It's kind of cool. A little show and tell.
Excuse me. Oh, I just want to go a drag strip this year. That's my goal. I want to take one of my cars to the drag strip. I don't care which one it is. I want to go down quarter mile.
All right. So the first one isn't new in box, but Donnie, you should be old enough, and I know JR is. Lawn darts.
Game of skill.
Yep. Or who's going to stay in the circle long enough before the dart comes down?
Yeah.
And The old school metal tip.
Man,
These are mine from when I was a kid. I still have them. Now that's nostalgia. And it was $2.99 because the sticker's still on it.
adjusted for inflation, what, 10.99?
But this one,
Oh wow,
still in the box.
the action set.
Yes, never opened. $99.99 at Kmart.
Kmart, man.
Yeah, there's a shelf I keep back behind my green screen. That's where I have all that stuff. Yeah, that's some nostalgia stuff right there. I love that Nintendo.
Side note here,
Yeah.
talking about goals and stuff like that. When you're in your retro items there, I mentioned my goal, my only like personal goal this year is I want to go to the drag strip.
Mhm.
I want to go down the quarter-mile track because I haven't been in so long, and I don't even care which car it is I take. I just want to get down a drag strip and have fun again. Just doing that kind of stuff. My boss mentioned he's thinking about renting out a track nearby, one of the nearby tracks and stuff. And I thought if we could get some customers slash vendors we work with that are into this,
Yeah.
and make like a whole fun day out of it, and just he'll rent out the track and we can just have fun and hopefully not break shit.
Speaking of that, I've actually thought about getting back into racing. I've been out of it for so long.
Yep.
I retired. It is something that's on my mind that I might do. JR, where did I find that? That's actually mine. And what I mean by that, my dad bought that for me when I was a little pup. And it didn't show up in time for Christmas. It got lost in the mail. And then, so he bought another one. That one showed up. And then a few days later, that one showed up. And when he tried to return it, Kmart wouldn't take it back. They already refunded him and they wouldn't take it back. So they just told him to keep it. So we opened up one, hooked it up, and then we've always kept that one put away. And I can even go forward. I can go older. I love older stuff. I'm such a sucker for it. I have CEDs and I have a CED player. And we'll wait and see if JR knows what CED is because I know he's older than I am. And if he does, great. If not, Donnie, I'll explain it to you in a little while. But yeah, so I've talked about getting back into racing. I'm not going to do it this year. I would, if you guys do something, I will bring the green Mustang up.
Cool.
I'll take it down the track. I won't go on it hard, just because I'd have to drive it home. I'm not going to trailer it, so. But I would be okay with if it runs 13 seconds and.
I wouldn't be trailing any of my stuff either.
Yeah.
My cars are street cars. They're meant to be driven. I might put the set of like wheels and tires in the back or the hatch area or something. But yeah, I'd like to just. I don't want to get into racing because I know that can get competitive and expensive.
Yeah.
And I just want to be able to go down the track again. I haven't been in over 10 years, and every time we talk about doing something, it's just things get busy and stuff like that. But my boss mentioned he wants to rent a track this year.
Yeah.
And take our stuff out there. So
let me know. I
thought that'd be a lot of fun.
I'd be up for it. Depending on when it falls, I might come up. Might even bring a booth if you guys will allow it. Just to set it up.
Yeah, even if it's just to run and have some fun, and we can video it and stuff. And yeah, so yeah, that's my goal for this year. I'd like to go, or even if my boss doesn't do it, Byron is only about 2 hours away from me. Morocco, US 41 or whatever it's called now is only about 2 hours. Everything's about 2 hours away from me, so it's not a bad drive. Get a group of us together and stuff, and just hey, let's go. go to a testing tune one day and just have some fun.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah. And I'm sad to say, I'm still on 28 spline axles in the back of the green car.
I do.
So,
That's why I don't like run slicks. I'll run like some like Mickey's or some street radials and stuff. But that's my fuse. If my tires blow off in first gear, oh well. Maybe and it chirps in second. Oh well. I'm not looking to break records in time. I just want to be able to go down the strip and see what I can do as a driver.
I've snapped axles on, radials. So I'll be cutting like 3.0 60 foots just to get it out of there, just on the safe side. Once I'm moving, I don't care. I'll rip on it. It's
that initial shock off the hit that's usually breaking them. You're not breaking them when you're shifting from first to second, unless they're already like half cracked or something. Then you finally let go. But
so
yeah.
All right, he doesn't know what CED
No,
is.
I still got drum brakes in my Fox and my Turbo Fox. I'm not gonna be trying to break anything because I don't want that axle flying out the side.
That's funny. Let's work. All right, history lesson here, boys. I'm not even that old. Donnie, I think I'm barely older than you. Okay, before I show it. So CED. It's capacitance electronic disc. And what that was, it was what was supposed to become the next video media. It wasn't supposed to be VHS, it was supposed to be CED. CED is a vinyl record. Like a 40 your normal size vinyl record, but a movie. Runs off of a needle, but it's a movie.
Wow.
So if you want to watch the original Star Wars, no editing, none of that tomfoolery.
No special editions.
No special editions. Just even the VHS is wrong. The original VHS is not the same as in theater. This is I have it on reel to reel, but reel to reel and this are the only two that are the original, unedited theater release. So, I restore as a hobby CED players, and I have about 300 movies in CED.
How much do you think that's worth right there? Is it worth any money, or is it just because it's such a odd medium that it's not really worth much?
It's because it's an odd medium. The Betamaxes sell for much more.
Okay.
I have a Betamax. I have a bunch of Betamax movies. But I have all of the Star Wars, the original trilogy on CED. Return of the Jedi, the last one in that series, was just a smidge too long because this can only hold not quite 2 hours. Because what it is you play it, and then when you get about 45 minutes, 50 minutes is what you can do per side. You got to stick the cassette back in, pull it out, flip it back over, put it in so you can play the other side to get your whole 110 minutes. But because Return of the Jedi was close to 120, they had to put it on 2 of these.
Oh, wow.
Fun history. I know it's outside of the car, but it's what this is about, right?
Hey, that's cool. We dabble, right?
Yep. And it's my hobby stuff. This is the stuff I like to do in my spare time and have fun. But JR, yeah, it is. I love this stuff. It's actually how I grew up watching TV. We didn't have like cable or it wasn't even cable. It was over the air. We didn't really even have over the air antenna. The antenna blew down before I was born. And no one replaced it. So I grew up with these type of movies, and that's what I thought everything was. So like I have Rocky 1, 2, 3, Secret of the Nim, all the Star Wars, War Games. I'm looking over and just seeing which all are over there right now that I can see off the top of my head.
Did they put aliens in that medium?
N- no, but Firestarter is
Okay.
the original Firestarter. Um, Death Race, 2000. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton, and
Wow, that's
that
a That's a Corman production, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
And that's got Sylvester Stallone in it
yes.
too.
Oh wow, you're a movie nut. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. That was my original thing before Cars.
I still
I was
am.
actually kind of an artist, like drawing, painting,
Yeah.
and stuff, and I was heavily influenced by the movies Predator and Aliens,
Okay.
and I then got into that comic and anime kind of style and
Okay.
stuff, and then I got out of that and got into Cars.
So I still do the movies. Big movie person.
Mm-hmm.
Love watching movies. I had Movie Pass. Do you remember that a few years back?
Oh yeah.
Or before COVID. I had Movie Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. That came back, and I got it again.
Nice.
Yeah. And use it. I enjoy it. So because we're on movies, have you seen
I
Godzilla?
love watching older stuff. I You saw Godzilla -1?
Yes. Have you seen it in black and white yet?
I haven't
Or
seen
monochrome?
Godzilla -1 yet. That's one I don't. I'm not like really all the new stuff that's been coming out. I have not been interested to see except for that one.
It was amazing. So I saw it in color.
Yeah, I
The-
keep hearing it.
so I saw it in color, and I think this week they released it in monochrome. So it would be like the original style, black and whitish. I'm dying
Yeah.
to see it like that. I've loved the original Godzillas, and that's. I took my daughter to go see the one in color, and her first thing
Yeah.
was, and she likes movies. She's like, the whole thing is in Japanese. I'm like, yes, there's English subtitles, just like all the old ones your dad watches. It's in subtitles. She's like, okay, and she's not a huge Godzilla fan, and she's 13. Went and watched it, couldn't shut up about it for like the 2 hours because it's like the originals where it's more a story about the people than it is
Yep.
Godzilla. But Godzilla is still the main character, which is funny. But the way they do the storyline, amazing movie. Probably almost my favorite one out of all of them.
Yeah. My introduction to Godzilla was Godzilla 1985.
Yes!
And I just I had the VHS of it.
I did too.
That was
still do.
rented.
Sorry.
I couldn't find mine, but I remember when popping it in. I always remember seeing a trailer for Tremors, and the Bambi meets Godzilla little cartoon short.
Yes.
Remember
And he
when
does
all of a sudden
dink, dink.
the foot comes down, crushes it. Yep.
Dink, dink.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I never knew because I saw that was my first introduction to Godzilla. I didn't know about Gojira 1954 or anything like that. But
Yeah.
I saw Godzilla 1985 and I loved it because I was a huge fan of dinosaurs and that was one of the things I drew when I was little. And then of course that Godzilla was like a mechanical plus a man in a suit. They did a mechanical puppet for it and stuff, and they made his face like what you could see the teeth and stuff. And then I never knew that was like an American Roger Corman like rehash.
Yep.
And then the original, and I bought it when they came out with a Blu-ray that gave you the original Japanese version, but not the 1985. So it's just called Return of Godzilla.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I
never knew about that, and because I kind of skipped past all the Godzilla stuff until all the new ones are coming out from Warner Brothers, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm curious about Godzilla 1985. And then I saw Return of Godzilla. I'm like, ooh, I've never seen that, and I'm kind of interested again. So I bought that a couple years back and stuff, and wow, that's a different movie. But yeah, that's how I grew up with Godzilla and stuff. But yeah, all older movies like 80s, 90s, maybe some early 2000s, I'm all into them. My shelf is lined up with Blu-rays and DVDs.
Yep.
All my VHSs got lost in a previous renting situation, and all those got left behind. But yeah, all my stuff you look, it's like, oh yeah, it's all like classic 80s and 90s stuff.
Yep. So
80, yeah, I'm a huge movie guy.
Godzilla
that was my thing.
Godzilla 85 was one I grew up on.
Yep.
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the first one,
Yeah.
was another one I grew up on. Loved it, and I loved it because there was a Celica in that car, uh, which would have, which was one of my favorite Japanese cars back in the day because the mirrors were up on the front fender and all
Mm-hmm.
the, I don't know, just really cool cars back then. Um, let's see. Outside of that, all the Lethal Weapons.
The next one I watched, and it was still a guilty pleasure, but one of the most hated was Godzilla vs Megalon.
Yeah.
It's probably the most hated one because it's so goofy because of Jet Jaguar.
Yep.
But I remember when I was a kid, after I saw Godzilla in 1985 and how serious that movie was, and then the next one I saw was Godzilla vs Megalon, where you got like these dancers dressed up in like these like angel robes and stuff, and Godzilla flew in the air with his tail dragging the ground, kicking Megalon, and Jet Jaguar grew and stuff. And I remember having so much fun with that as a kid that I'm like, oh wow, so Godzilla's like a goofball.
Yeah.
And then he's super serious in 1985 and stuff. And
It, it's
yeah,
it's
I had
funny.
a lot of fun with Godzilla when I was a kid.
It was funny to see the differences of how the Americans did it versus how
Yep.
Japanese versions were. Because Japanese versions were still comical. Like some of the original ones were goofy. But then
Yeah.
they had some serious ones too. Like they had backstories of like the family that might be destroyed by this or whatever the whole situation might be. Like this one kind of, the new one kind of takes a hint out of both
Mm-hmm.
genres of the Japanese version, which is which really brought it home for me. Um, but yeah, so I mean, Tremors. I only like the first one.
Yeah. I own them all because
Yeah.
they all are kind of fun. And plus, guy who plays Earl, Fred Ward, is in the
Yep.
second one. So I still like watching that one, even though the effects aren't as good because they went to CG versus the first one didn't have any CG. It was all
Yeah.
practical.
Yep.
I'm a huge practical guy. Like anything that's got a lot of good practical effects. Like that's why I think I like 80s and 90s movies so much.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I remember watching Tremors so many times.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, I probably destroyed a couple of VHSs on that one.
The first Jurassic Park. Oh god,
Jurassic Park.
I saw that in the theater.
My
1993. Man, what a year.
my favorite VHS tape. I shouldn't say favorite, but one of my all-time favorite to own was the movie Hackers from '95.
Mm.
It was never released to the public on VHS. It was rental only. And the local rental store in our town was closing, and I was able to buy it in like '98. Was super excited about because I was the only person to have it on VHS because you could get it on DVD, but VHS was only rental only. And was finally
Right.
and the thing I loved was is that VHS place, not VHS, but the rental store. Um, they always did like a scan of the case and put the cases away, so the case was still in mint condition. So they put it.
Oh yeah.
So it was, and that thing is still put away. God, video rental stores, kids will never understand.
I know, right?
You have
I
24
remember
hours to play this game.
some
and
of the
figure it
fun
out.
parts of doing video stores was looking at the art on the cases because it may be a movie you never heard of, and I'm a
Mhm.
huge fan of like the creature effects stuff, and just looking at some of the artwork on the cases is like, whoa, that looks really crazy. Let's rent this. The movie could be complete shit, but it's like, oh yeah, they got a really cool creature, and the artwork is kind of out there and stuff like that.
So,
I just remember going to this place called Finnegan's Video in my local town, and
yep.
um, you just have like all these like I'd immediately go to the horror section or action section, just look at the artwork on the cases,
Yep.
and just pick out the most random things and stuff, and hopefully my mom wouldn't care if it was an R-rated film or something, and just get it. But
Yeah.
oh man,
Like
yeah, those days.
Long gone. So okay, 80s and 90s. So did you like any of the Puppet Master series? Because those weren't CGI.
The first, yeah, because a lot of that was a stop motion.
Yep.
The first one I think was stop motion because it had one of the Harryhausen guys involved, wasn't it?
Yes.
Trying to remember.
Yep.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, the first two.
First two were stop motion.
Because the second, yeah, and the second one freaked me out more because it had the guy that was wrapped in like that almost mummified.
Yes.
And he always freaked me out because I think he ended up like cutting himself to like bleed the juice, and yeah, it's. I remember that one freaked me out more than the first one.
Yep. They got sillier after the second one, like they went downhill.
Yeah.
But okay.
Toys all that I remember as a kid too. That I watched as a kid, remember being freaked out, especially with the teddy bear because it grew and it had sharp teeth. But when I watched it again as an adult, I'm just like, what the hell? This is the most piece of crap. And it was only like barely over an hour long. It's like they had to pad fill time or run time and stuff. I think it was part of like a double feature that I bought. It had Demonic Toys, and I think it had like Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys in it. But I remember that one when I was a kid. It freaked me out because having your toys come to life, kind of like Child's Play.
Oh.
That freaks out a little kid and stuff like that.
I watched that one, and I hope my dad watches this freaking podcast and knows that he destroyed my life because of it. I had a Good Guy doll. They actually did make them. It was like for that movie when they released it. Like they actually had a small run. I had one. I was like 5 years old. And we watched that movie when I was 5. And that thing used to sit on my headboard. And that night, my dad moved it from my headboard, and I had this corner table stand. And he put it on the corner table stand in the middle of the night. I woke up, and that thing moved. It died. I took it downstairs, and I destroyed it. Couldn't watch that movie again for years because it freaked me out so bad.
Yeah.
And he just laughed. But yeah, so I mean, I grew up on a lot of stuff. Like I miss the X-Files. I know I can go watch them, but like that was one I grew up watching. Unsolved Mysteries. Like I can still hear that theme song when the intro to when that comes on. Yeah, I like the James Cameron Terminator movies that were stop motion. Like the first one was really good.
Oh yeah,
the
first one was definitely
better.
a horror film.
Yeah, the first one was a horror film. The second one was gotta go. I gotta head to bed at midnight, and the wife is upset that the cat is howling at me. Thanks, JR. Have a good one.
Take care, JR.
Yeah, I could get into movies. Like it's still one of my favorite pastimes. Like some of the newer
Aliens
stuff
was an obsession for me.
Yes. So you would love my old hometown. Well, the town near my hometown, I should say. There was a guy every Halloween would open up his shop, and he was a wax sculpturist, but he also did Hollywood makeup and costumes. I was trying to think of the different word.
So wardrobe or something?
Yeah, kind of. He made the original outfit for Pinhead, for Hellraiser.
Oh, nice.
And he did.
Wow.
And he...
Clive Barker, man.
And he did the original Predator. So he had the original outfit for Jean-Claude Van Damme that he always had.
The lobster thing?
For Predator?
Yeah, the original creature design for Jean-Claude that when it was in red it looked like a lobster.
Yeah.
There was like a gangly long-necked alien thing.
Yep. So he had that outfit. He had 3 xenomorph outfits. So from Aliens.
Wow.
He did a lot of the 80s and early 90s horror films.
Okay.
And he had a lot of, and he would make the costumes for the folks. and be
Mm-hmm.
on set. And then he would also have them there, and he would do, and it was like a walkthrough of his museum. But what he would do is he would hire local folks to get in the costumes. So I got to do it one year.
Right.
So you and he would do the whole makeup on you. Like he would get you in the outfit, and what your goal was is you would sit in a certain spot where that was supposed to be, and then all of a sudden you would move. Just to
Mm-hmm.
scare people. So much fun during the Halloween season. It was and it was free. Like you didn't pay, and you didn't get paid
Yeah.
to do it, but it was the experience because the chances of you ever being able to own or be able to be in one of those was slim to none, right? Hey, kitty.
Yeah.
So it was
So
a blast.
what were you dressed up as?
I was a xenomorph.
Oh, nice.
I got to be one of the xenomorphs. So that was my favorite.
Awesome.
A buddy of mine got to be Predator,
Oh
and
man.
one of the guys I went to school with, we weren't really good friends, but we knew each other. He was Pinhead, and his girlfriend was
Wow.
Pinhead's, the girl with the thing that came out, and
The one with the neck. Those. Okay.
yeah, that was her. She was the longest to get done. Like she
Wow.
had to get there at like 6 a.m. and it was like
Jesus.
4 or 5 hours to get her all set up. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
I know we went all over the place tonight, and that was kind of fun. Uh,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I really didn't know where to go on this one.
no, and I'll say it before we go offline. The idea is to have guest eventually. We're just still building
Yeah.
this. We're still. I've never really paid attention to it. We actually have 40 people, 40 some subscribers, which actually shocked me. It's kind of exciting for very little pushing this out.
Mm-hmm.
It is exciting to me. I'd like to build it, get more people in chat, but it would be fun to have someone like Neo, Brutal, Caleb from Foxcast, maybe some of the guys from 50 Asylum if they're up for it, Ben from Big Stuff. So I've already put the feelers out for a few people. Ben was going to.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get Ben for tonight, but he was flying to Florida to do Sick Week with a buddy, so he's in that. So I couldn't get him for this. So the goal is to start trying to get people lined up and on here.
Okay.
So when
Right
we do that, we might want to move these up a little because 9:30 might be a little too late for some. Maybe move them up
Sure.
to like 8, if possible. 8:30,
Okay.
just so people can catch it if they want to do live. Excuse me. Outside that, I mean, I think it'll be fun to get some people in here. We got stuff coming up. I mean, we got events coming up. I'm not going to Ponies and the Smokies. We discussed that the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I have no plans to attend any events so far this year.
you can't. I mean, I get it though. I mean, unfortunately, but
Yeah, I don't foresee there any changes coming either. Just from the sense I'm getting at the dealership right now.
yeah. So
Because right now the focus needs to be on sales and service because they're so behind. We don't have enough technicians, which is like every shop right now, and like I'm kind of like the last thing to think about in the business and stuff. So, which is fine because
Yeah.
I can just do what I can do,
Yeah.
on my little own area. But so yeah, I'm not even gonna try and think about it. I'm just gonna be like, okay, I'm just not gonna do it unless something cool happens, and then go on from there. I'm not gonna do PRI this year.
Yep.
That's for sure. Let's see. I don't even know if we're going to do our car show this year because I got stuck doing pretty much everything last year for their car show, and that nearly killed me. And I got stressed out about it that I almost felt like quitting. So I'm like, okay, if they're going to do it, I'm just going to help. I'm not going to be running it. So I'm just, this year's going to be just like I said, my only goal was I want to go to the track. have some fun.
Yeah.
And then little projects here and there, if they get accomplished, cool. But
Yeah. Pretty cool.
not gonna be pushing hard for anything this year.
I get that. So we'll just call it here. Me and you can hang out and talk a little bit on some
About
stuff
2 hours, aren't
offline.
we?
Yeah. Well, hour and a half, a little over an hour
Cool.
and a half. So, all right.
Okay.
We'll end it off here. Thanks for everybody that did listen if you made it this far. And we'll see you on the next one.